Alright folks, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we're diving deep into the stuff that mainstream media and even the big Trek fan sites don't want to touch. The cultural undercurrents, the hidden narratives, and how something as simple as a costume can expose the whole illusion of order in our society. Today, we're breaking down part 2 of my 3-part series on symbolism, how wardrobe and costumes in Star Trek aren't just fashion choices. They're pushing the story, they're telegraphing themes, and they're calling out the BS in ways that hit harder than a phaser on disintegrate. Look, I've been a Trek fan for years. I've said it in other videos. Sunday, 4 o'clock on the local Portland affiliate, that was my thing. And I looked forward to the 5 o'clock Monday through Friday repeat showings of the original series, because that's all we had back then. We didn't even have VHS tapes to rewatch anything. So with Deep Space Nine, that's the show that flipped the script on the franchise in whole. Part 1, we talked about how Deep Space Nine ditched those bright, vibrant hero spandex uniforms from the Next Generation. The one screaming optimism, structure, and Federation superiority, and went full black dominant bodysuits. It was a visual gut punch. Next Generation was all about clarity and idealism. But Deep Space Nine, ominous, unknown, darker themes lurking in the shadows. And no one embodies that shift better than first Commander, then later Captain Benjamin Sisko, portrayed by Avery Brooks. Avery Brooks, if you're not familiar, was the actor who played Hawk in Spencer for Hire with Robert Urich, and then had a spin-off of his own self-titled Hawk set in Washington, D.C. His character was dark. So you couldn't find an actor who was more capable of pulling that role. All right, so strap in. This is Benjamin Sisko between Starfleet and Destiny. We're going in on his uniform evolution, especially that pivotal return to Earth in Homefront and Paradise Lost. Trust me, it's more than clothes. It's a metaphor for how we all got caught between institutional illusions and our true calling. Let's start at the beginning, because context matters, folks. Sisko rolls up to Deep Space Nine in the pilot Emissary, wearing that classic TNG-era uniform. Black shoulders, bright, color-coded torso popping like a superhero cape. You know, the one. Picard, Riker, the whole Enterprise crew strutted in it. That uniform, it's loaded with philosophy. It's the outfit of a Starfleet that thinks it's got the galaxy figured out. Stability, order, optimism, Federation, certainty. We're the good guys, space is our playground, and everything's gonna work out because we're enlightened humans. Yeah, right. That's the illusion Deep Space Nine smashes right out of the gate. But once Sisko settles in on the station, a rundown Cardassian hunk of junk on the edge of nowhere, uniform switch, him and the crew pivot to the Deep Space Nine jumpsuit. Black dominating the torso, color shrunk up to the shoulders. It's not a minor tweak. It's a full symbolic inversion. And yes, if you've already watched part 1, you've heard this. Bear with me. This is getting somewhere. So think about it. Next Generation puts color at the center. Bright reds, golds, blues, symbolizing clarity, idealism, rigid structure. I mean, it's right there, dead center. You can't miss it. We're Starfleet. We followed the Prime Directive. No questions asked. Deep Space Nine flips it. black at the core, sucking in the light as if it's a wormhole. Ambiguity, danger, the unknown. Out here, rules bend, alliances shift, and your idealism gets you killed. It's genius visual storytelling, folks. The costume department wasn't lazy. They were dropping truth bombs. And Sisko, he owns this transition like no one else. He's not just a commander, he's a widower, a father, a reluctant prophet. His arc is the heart of Deep Space Nine's realism. Now, fast forward to season 4, Homefront, and Paradise Lost, the two-parter episode. Sisko gets yanked back to Earth, back to Starfleet headquarters, the supposed beacon of Federation perfection. And what do? They slap him back into that old TNG-style uniform. Black shoulders, bright torso, gleaming under those San Francisco lights. Visually, it's a snapback to Starfleet's old narrative, the bright, orderly center of the universe, the place where rules work, bureaucracy hums, and threats are just simulations in the holodeck. But here's where it gets real. And this is why Deep Space Nine was ahead of its time. Paralleling stuff we're seeing today with governments around the world, especially in Europe, overreach, false flags. Sisko arrives thinking he's there to advise on changeling infiltrators, beef up security. Meanwhile, Earth looks pristine, uniforms crisp, admirals sipping replicated coffee like everything's fine. But as the episodes unfold, the coup plot bubbles up. Admiral Leyton, Sisko's old mentor, no less, is staging attacks, faking threats to justify martial law. Power grids sabotaged, blood tests rigged, the whole Federation on lockdown. Sisko peels back the layers and sees the fragility.
I knew we were headed for trouble.
Even Starfleet, the gold standard of morality, can lose its way. Optimism, it's a facade. Order, it's enforced at phaser point.
They believe that
Folks,
Captain Sisko
this
is the
hits
emissary.
home. Think about it. Sisko in that TNG uniform is like us buying into the mainstream narrative. Trust the institutions. They've got it handled. I'll need your phone for that meme you sent, or that naughty word you said to an acquaintance privately. But the plot exposes the rot, paranoia, manipulation, the elite pulling strings to cling to power. It's a commentary on real-world stuff, government surveillance, emergency powers that never end. DS9 wasn't afraid to say, hey, even in utopia, the system can turn dystopian overnight. And Sisko, stuck in that bright uniform, is visually trapped in the illusion. He's playing by their rules, but his gut knows better. Well, helped along by a confrontation with his father, who represents his moral center. By the end, when he busts the conspiracy and heads back to Deep Space Nine, switching to the darker jumpsuit, that's not just a wardrobe refresh. It's a declaration of independence. My place isn't in Starfleet's illusion of order. My place is where reality is messy, where frontiers test you. Boom! Boom! The black torso swallows the color, mirroring how Deep Space Nine swallows the next generation's naivete. Sisko's not rejecting Starfleet. He's evolving beyond its blind spots. And that's the pivot point for his whole character. Now, let's tie this into Sisko's spiritual journey, because this is where the uniforms become mythic. As the Bajoran's emissary, chosen by the prophets in the wormhole, Sisko isn't just politicking, or soldiering. He's on a metaphysical frontier. Time's non-linear. Destiny's calling. Linear existence, forget it. The prophets aren't gods with clear agendas. They're enigmatic, wormhole aliens dropping riddles. Sisko starts skeptical, a rational Federation man. But by mid-series, he's embracing prophecy, visions, the whole 9 yards.
I knew we were headed for trouble the minute he allowed the Bajorans to call him Emissary.
He didn't have much choice. The Bajorans are deeply committed to their spirituality, not to mention incredibly stubborn. They believe that Captain Sisko is the Emissary, and nothing's going to change their minds.
The uniforms track this perfectly. That TNG getup, it's who he was, shaped by Federation clarity, science over spirituality, order over chaos. Back on Earth, it's a regression, trying to fit into the box. But the Deep Space Nine jumpsuit, black at the heart, mysterious, resilient. It reflects who he becomes, transformed by the prophets, the Dominion War, the Frontier's grind. He's not just commanding a station, he's bridging realms. Rational Federation logic meets Bajoran faith. Ordered idealism of the next generation crashes into Deep Space Nine's complex realism. Science's clarity versus prophecy's mystery. In fact, this clip demonstrates how detached is Starfleet and the Federation as the Deep Space Nine crew have traded their black jumpsuits with some color optimism to black suits with gray. A sense of foreboding, a sense of potential doom as their leaders still live in the past.
Emissary!
Locusts! They'll destroy Basil unless it stands alone!
Ben, what the hell are you talking about?
It's too soon! Basil must not join the Federation! If it does, it will be destroyed!
Folks, Sisko is the ultimate bridge builder between two worlds, two eras of Trek, two ways of seeing the universe. As a leader, he navigates alliances with Klingons, Cardassians, even the Founders. As a father, he raises Jake amid uncertainty. As a mythic figure, he's the emissary who sacrifices everything in the finale. His uniforms aren't random. They're a roadmap of evolution. Start bright and structured, end dark and adaptive. It's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee how costumes drive the narrative. And here's my hot take. This is why Deep Space Nine aged like fine Raktajino or blood wine, depending upon the occasion, while some newer Trek feels hollow. They nailed the visuals to underscore themes, questioning authority, embracing complexity, calling out illusions. In a world where we're fed constant narratives about trust the plan, Sisko's story screams, question everything, adapt, or get left behind. It's not just sci-fi. It's a mirror to our cultural mess. All right, that's the deep dive on Sisko's uniform saga. If this resonates, drop a like, share it with your Trek buddies, and comment below. What's your take on Deep Space Nine's wardrobe symbolism? Did it change how you see the show? Part 3's coming. Stay tuned. This is Trek Warp. Peace and long life.